In astrological language, the luminaries, the sun and the moon, function as the rhythmic engine of our daily consciousness. Their cycles establish a steady, predictable baseline for how we process time, emotion, and routine. But twice a year, this steady rhythm is fractured. An eclipse arrives as a sharp, sudden threshold event that cuts directly across that established timeline. Within this system, this disruption is an intentional, built-in mechanism designed to prevent systemic stagnation. While historical lore often frames these events with fear, the esoteric framework treats them as localized course corrections. This interruption forces a hard stop. The momentum of our habitual behaviors, our daily emotional crutches, and even collective social currents are abruptly suspended. The mechanics of this course correction require a specific sequence. The first step is both literal and metaphorical, the extinguishing of our most familiar sources of light. Resisting this sudden halt only generates destructive friction. To navigate this celestial reset, one must first be willing to see what happens when everyday consciousness is forced into the dark. This is the concealment phase. The external anchors we rely on for ego identity and emotional comfort are suddenly obscured by a passing shadow. This shadow is driven by celestial geometry, the lunar nodes. The south node acts as an energetic drain, releasing outdated attachments. Directly across, the north node is the threshold of new growth. During an eclipse, this alignment locks immense geometric tension into place. This geometry does not create an empty void in the sky, it generates a highly pressurized field. Within this alignment, any internal or external structure built on a weak foundation begins to rapidly decay. The physical alignment of these celestial bodies directly mirrors a psychological reality, the systemic dismantling of our most stubborn, automated routines. By stripping away our external crutches, the concealment phase forces us to navigate entirely by internal metrics. In the absence of the usual glare, the things we normally ignore become highly visible. Deeply rooted attachments and hidden psychological patterns are suddenly isolated and held up for review. This pressurized field extends outward. On a collective scale, this tension isolates obsolete institutional frameworks, testing their structural integrity until they fracture. This is why the shadow phase is so disorienting. It is highly active. It deliberately dissolves connections that no longer serve the evolutionary timeline. The process reaches its absolute bottom at the exact moment of totality. This is the quietest, heaviest point of peak tension, right before the final break. Within astrological patterning, this darkness is never viewed as a punishment. It is a precise, surgical removal of dead weight, and necessary subtraction before any new trajectory can begin. As the celestial bodies continue their transit, the eclipse path completes. The shadow recedes, the threshold is crossed, and the revelation phase brings the light back online. This returning light illuminates the exact personal landscape, with entirely new context and clarity. The external shapes are the same, but the internal architecture has shifted. The interruption has done its job. The previous timeline is severed. The path backward is closed. This mechanism breaks the cycle of habitual momentum. In the esoteric worldview, the reset provides the necessary friction to catalyze a permanent shift in how we perceive our own path. The clarity of this revelation phase installs a new baseline of awareness. Once the dead weight has been identified in the returning light, returning to the previous state requires a conscious denial of what has been revealed. Rather than bracing for disruption, you can actively engage with this symbolic language. You can use the shadow phase mechanics to intentionally review and reset your own internal programming. Viewing eclipses as the precise geometry of cosmic thresholds shifts our perspective. We transform disorienting interruptions into opportunities for conscious reinvention.